Good evening, everyone, fellow sound and acoustic enthusiasts as well. On behalf of Science Awareness Committee of the Indian Women Scientists Association, IWSA, I'm Sonam Ambe. I warmly welcome all of you to the 56th talk under the Science in Our Life SOAL series of webinar. This webinar series was initiated in 2020 during the COVID pandemic to bring science closer to people. And today we are proud to host the 56th edition. Since September in 2021, the series has been supported by the Board of Research in the Nuclear Sciences, BRNS, at the DAE, and we extend our heartfelt gratitude for their invaluable support. For those who are new in our audience, allow me to briefly introduce our organization. The Indian Women Scientist Association, IWSA, is a non-profit charitable and voluntary organization. It was established by 12 visionary women with two key objectives: taking science to the masses and women empowerment. Through 5 decades of dedicated efforts, IWSA has grown to include 11 branches and over 2,000 members, continuing to make significant impact. For more details, please invite you to visit our website, which is iwsa.net. The Science and Our Life lecture series is one of IWSA's flagship monthly activities. And through this series, eminent personalities from various fields shed light on the evolution and application of different sciences, helping the public understand their relevance in everyday life. The topics we've covered so far, from Bhaskaracharya Leelavati in modern mathematics education to science, noise pollution, forensics, DNA, avionics, and many more. If you've missed any of these fascinating talks, you can always find the recordings on IWSA's YouTube channel. So don't forget to like and subscribe there as well. Today's session promises to be just as insightful. Our topic is the importance of acoustics in space design. It's a subject that profoundly impacts the way we experience the spaces that we inhabit, and more so from the perspective of the entertainment industry, how acoustics has to be planned. And this is something that our speaker, Rolins, is in fact an expert in. So whether it's the cozy private theater or the bustling sports arena, all of it has its acoustics plan. Our distinguished speaker will take us through the intricate processes of designing acoustics for various types of spaces, highlighting the stages involved in such projects, from drawing board to setting acoustic design criteria, specifications, and finally to execution of the sites. And through his experience, he will kind of show us how spaces like studios, theaters, cultural halls, etc. have been built in. And these have been his expertise as well. It is now my pleasure to introduce our speaker for today's talk, Mr. Rolins, Architect Rolins Roy. He is an architectural acoustic consultant and the founder of Rolins Acoustics, a Mumbai-based consultancy firm specializing in designing acoustically optimized spaces. With a postgraduate specialization in acoustics from the LSBU Acoustic Group in London, he has worked on a diverse range of projects, including studios, theaters, and cultural spaces, and has even collaborated with the NCPA, National Center for Performing Arts in Mumbai. A passionate musician himself, Rolins is also the co-founder of Music Liberation Union. It's a platform promoting diverse musical performances and is very active in Navi Mumbai. We are thrilled to have him with us today to share his expertise, and I pass it over to you, Rollins.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Sonam, for introducing me to this organization. And I must say that in the early school days, I have been to this building because it was right next to Father Agnell, and some event might have happened there. So I have very faint memories of being in this institution as well. So life comes around a full circle. So I'm glad that I can interact with this esteemed organization, and I'll share what I do on a day-to-day basis and what is the process involved in what we do. And of course, it is a mixture of science, art, and architecture. and mostly towards science. So I'm hoping this would interest all of you. And this is regarding architecture and volumes, where a lot of content is made. Right now, in the early years, acoustics was always related with music or something like that. But now, with people being more knowledgeable about spaces, the quality of spaces, there are standards involved, where, is your workspace good enough for a certain level of kind of work, and technically sound for certain kind of work. So labs, office spaces, schools, everything has standards connected with it, based on which we have to design. There are parameters, so here assumptions don't work. We have to fit within those parameters. Like, this has the noise levels in this space has to be so much, the ambient noise levels has to be so much, or the reverberation time has to be so much, for that space to perform well, and even the users to be able to use the space in the right manner. So I'll take you more into detail in this, realm of information, and I'll just allow you. Can you just allow me to share the screen? I'll just
Yes,
share
yes,
my screen and talk.
yes. You can share.
Thanks. Yeah.
Mm. I'll also switch off my video, Rollins, but very much here.
Okay. Shall I switch off my video as well?
No, 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 not for you. It's
No.
good for the
Okay.
recording that only one gets spotlighted. Yeah.
Okay. 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 Fine. So when I speak about the kind of work we are into, I call it an experiential imprint. Each space we create an experience. We are designing an experience. So apart from, like, you might have a, I mean, everybody makes a judgment that, architects will work on the anthropometric data and then make a space which will look good, feel good. But when we might focus more on the aesthetical aspects of things. But what we have focused more on is the experiential aspect, where sound, lighting, everything comes into place, and then how we can enhance the experience of doing something, some function. Okay. So, what are the performance objectives for doing this desired experience? So, I would put it forward as speech intelligibility. Like, when I'm speaking, you are not hearing anything else, and you are able to hear my words more clearly. There is a parameter involved with that called the STIPA, speech transmission index, for PA systems and things like that. Then there is controlled ambient noise. Now, when I'm speaking, are you hearing more of the traffic noise or something? Right now, I'm actually in a ongoing site area where you might hear a lot of construction elements and things like that. But I'm using some cancellation element right now so that you don't hear it while I'm speaking. And I also don't hear it while I'm, speaking through my headphones. So, system design. Now, is the space having all the systems in place? So when you go and give a talk, are you able to give the talk flawlessly, seamlessly through the systems that are in place? And then isolation, like, this is where we kind of, cut off all the noise from outside, structure borne vibrations. There could be aircraft noise, there could be a metro rail station running right below your building. So how do we isolate? So there are a lot of constructional elements that come into picture. And then, to achieve all this, what is the design criteria? We focus on room size, geometry, prime listening position, where is the user sitting and listening to the content so that the response is proper. Then acoustic treatment, which should be in tune with the audio video setup. And then comes the interior design and appearance. So we try to clear all these factors first before, aligning. I mean, this is a result of all these points together. Yeah. So, what is the process involved? We first have a schematic setup put in place, where we interact, we explore, and we see if this direction is it confirmed. Then we get on to the next stage, which is setting up design modules. So the person or the user whom we are designing for, we shape modules for them, we personalize it for the specific user. So when I'm saying this, like, we are designing studios, we are designing entertainment spaces for SS Rajamouli, AR Rahman sir. the Netflix, when they set up all the spaces here in India, we were the ones setting that up. So what were the requirements for all this? And when it is an orchestral space, like for the National Center for Performing Arts, where the JBT hall is there, where all the orchestral music happens, where Zubin Mehta comes and conducts the orchestras, what is the reverberation time involved? So it will not be similar to that of a theater. Theater is where, you might have live theater, you need more focus on the speech. So all these things we shape modules. And okay, now you might be thinking in your mind that, okay, without you building it, how would we even get to know what we want to achieve? So that is where we work on technical development of the space with simulations in place. Now there is BIM, 2D, 3D, so many types of simulations, and then we can generate results through geometric ray tracing or waveguide simulations. So even before the space is made, we can actually check, is it actually reaching that point of requirement or the ideal scenario. I'll show you some live examples where what it was before and what is after, and with some graphs as well, so it'll be easy for you. Then we do a little bit of value engineering, where we think about, okay, the reverberation time of a space is 2 seconds, we want to make it 1 second. So is it worth spending lakhs of rupees to bring that down, or will the users be okay with that? All those kind of debates happen at this stage. And then of course BOQ means bill of quantities and vendor finalizations. Who will be able to do it practically on site in a space? And then finally comes the construction sequencing, tests, snags, calibration, and the handover period. Okay. uh, was I clear on these on this part? Because this is the process, this is the basic module on which I'm going to explain certain live projects with certain images and graphs. Was I clear in this slide?
Yes.
Can I proceed forward? Yeah. Okay. So I'll give you a nice, interesting example. This is me sitting in my office, and I get a call from AR Rahman sir at somewhere around 12 or 1 a.m. in the night, saying that, okay, we need to build a space. Suddenly there is an ideation happening, and my partner in Chennai, he's also working on it. Basically, we want to. Now, the best part is this: we are discussing on creating a space for the first ever all women orchestra in the Middle East. Okay, so now the space and the location is finalized, there's some ideation happening, and he starts sketching on the screen. So the vision is being put together, and then I scale it to a certain human element factors, and everything is considered, the site is considered. Where is it? It is happening in the Middle East, in Dubai. So now the climate, all these aspects have to be considered. Now, though we were here to detail out on acoustics, we had to first generate out a concept. Okay, acoustics is going to be there inside and outside the space, like in the sense, people should be able to come here, people should be able to move around freely in the space. It will also be a tourist attraction kind of a space, and people will be generating content or music, and there will be air flight paths right above this, so the outside noise should not come inside content should not leak out. All these kind of things, of course, those are the finer details, but how do we put this together? Even before doing anything, we have to first zone things out. Like for example, we have the main studio, we have I'm showing you a section of a ideation or the concept plan. Okay, where we thought of having nice clean gardens with flowering plants and everything, because musicians are usually confined in very uh, very dark spaces and without any sunlight coming in. And we thought, okay, let people see how these things are done and how a orchestra makes content together for the background scoring of a movie or something like that. So this is how we are putting together the idea, so that the person or the entity which is going to invest in it, which is the Dubai government, the cultural ministry of the Dubai government, they are like, okay, they should be convinced that when we build something like this, it really works. Okay, so this is the scale that we thought. We are putting together all the elements that would make this space the right usable space for something like this to flourish. Okay, And we thought, okay, we'll not give it any regional color or anything of that sort. We thought just white spaces containing functions would be ideal for this kind of a project, and let the music itself add color to the space. So now, right now, you'll see that we are conceptualizing an idea. The detail of acoustics is going to happen only much later. But when we are doing this, we are zoning out. Now I'm showing you a site plan. Where are we locating it? So finally, when we received the site to do this, it was almost one tenth the actual concept that we dreamt or we kind of scaled out. So now we have 1920 kind of 1920 square meters plot, and we have to build this together. And then we thought, okay, let's go vertical in height, and we'll have multiple spaces. I've shown all those elements right to the side. So this is how we conceptualize. This is the process that's just happening. And when we are doing this, we should not judge the geometry or the kind of the aesthetics of the space, because that is all going to happen much later, so there's still volume ideation that's going on. And then finally, when we arrive at a refined usage brief, we realize, okay, we'll have the entry over here. People should not feel restricted. They should feel that they are being welcomed into a space. And then there is a cafeteria, there are management spaces, lawn spaces, and then nursing rooms, because there'll be children coming in along with their mothers who are musicians. And there'll be, a service utility spaces, the water tank, pump rooms. All this is going to make a lot of noise. And then a kind of studio space, a main scoring room where the main music happens or the content happens. And you need a lot of storage area for all this. So you realize, when we think of acoustics, we have to plan considering everything right from the start till the time you exit that space. What is the experience that you're taking the person through? Yeah. And then there are so many other factors like the storeroom, the electrical room, telephone room, and the garbage room. All these functions have to happen, so people inside who are generating content are not disturbed or are not hassled with everything that goes around in maintaining the space. Yeah. So it's a two floor space. This is a 3D of that same space that I'm showing you. Then we are ideating it, sketching out different ways how to make it look like. One is, functionally everything might be in place, but the space has to be inspirational to the people who are generating the content as well. Yeah. So this, I'm showing you a plan of how the orchestra would be arranged within that space, and that's the control room where the content is created here in the scoring space, and then that content goes through and there is a lot of wiring that happens, and then it goes to the heart of the building, which is the server room. You might know what a server room would be, where all the data is accumulated and processed, and then it goes into this control room. So there are dub rooms, like these are dub rooms. And they have honored one of our greatest musicians of all time, late Shri Lata Mangeshkar ji. So this dub room is named as the Lata Mangeshkar dub room, and every room has been dedicated to one of the finest artists of our times. And then we get into material research and how we need to make it flexible, or how many perforations we need to create so that diffusion or absorption, all this can happen. Yeah. And then if you want to play with light through that same material, how will it function? So this is how we are generating multiple layers of information, and then we have to put it together. So this is the stage where we are simulating. Okay. So now when I'm saying simulating, it's like trying to create uh, the scenario when it would be built, what it would sound like, or how would it behave. So here I'm showing you how many reflective planes are there within that main view. So with would the sound be influenced within the space? Will the microphones take in the right information? This is what is being done in this slide, as you can see. And here I'm showing receiver points. One and two are receiver points. These are source points. Like if there is a cello, the violin, or some percussion instruments there, what is the number one and two going to hear? all those things, we kind of have multiple combinations of checks before we even do anything on site. Okay, so now, for example, if this is the plan, this is the main scoring floor, this is a technical rendition of that main scoring floor. So now the challenge comes in. uh, we have been given the task of trying to transition the space from an orchestral space into also a preview space. Like, for example, you recorded an orchestra, you put it into a movie with video and things like that. You want to showcase it to the main people, like the director, certain VIPs, or whoever it is. So the same space also converts itself into preview or a cinema mode as well. So on the left, you're seeing an orchestral mode. If this is the main space, that is the a window of the control room. This is where the orchestra is kind of practicing. The whole space changes. There are reflectors in the ceiling, they come up and go down. And during cinema mode, you will see everything is closed. It opens up. When it is closed, it is more reflective in nature. I'll show you some graphs as we proceed forward. And then we are getting into the details of, okay, all these ideas are good to hear and listen to, but how would we actually do it? So there are multiple layers of materials that come together to make these things function, so like this part, the concave part, is a reflective element, whereas when it opens up, it is an absorptive element which is directly facing the users below. And this is a very interesting set of graphs which we generated at least 11 different versions of. So I'm showing you a scenario 4 maybe, where with variable acoustic treatment in the space, what can I achieve? Like now in orchestral mode, I have a much higher reverberation time, but in studio or in cinema mode, I have a much lesser reverberation time. So this way, I created multiple scenarios over here with variable acoustic treatments, with fixed acoustic treatment within the space. Then finally, the most practical and the fastest that we could achieve was this. So you'll see the orange line is actually orchestral mode. So you'll see orchestral mode. This 63 hertz, 125 hertz till 16,000 hertz. I'm showing you reverberation time in seconds over here. Okay. And cinema mode, I need much lesser reverberation time in the space, because when you're reproducing content done in a studio, it is done in a dead space. Now, when I say a dead space, it is a very absorptive space. Okay. Whereas while you record an orchestra, it is a more live space. Live space means something which is more reflective in nature. So this is what we are actually achieving at site. The gray line is the cinema mode, and the orange line is the orchestral mode. These are the values that you can see here. I will not get into much detail right now. You can ask me during questions in the end. Right now, I'll just flow through it. Otherwise, it might take too long. So at least I want to be able to give out the best that I can through my presentation, and so that you have the right questions in your mind. Now I'm just showing you the studio area, the main control room, where uh, if you are not aware of this line of work, the thing is, first the recording happens. The recording engineer records the musician, or maybe goes out in the uh, out in the jungle, records different insects or animals or whatever, and then all this content comes to a main control room. Okay, that is where the mixing and mastering happens. So you have to mix various things, different sounds, different music. So when you're listening to or seeing a movie, even like a 30-second video with a lot of content in it, you have to imagine the amount of effort or the number of hours that might have gone into just creating that. Like, you might know, even a 1 minute animation takes almost sometimes a month to create. Okay, so all that happens in this part, the creative part, where there is the music director, the engineers, and the producers sitting together, ideating and trying out different iterations. So here you will see it is designed based on the Dolby Atmos music entertainment standard. Okay, so this is where you might have heard 7.1.4, 5.1.2, and those kind of things. So for example, if I take you through this, this is just a ideation of how that space is going to be used. So I'm calling this AR Rahman seat because he's sitting here and he's going to see the orchestra right below. At the same time, he'll have headphones in his head, or he'll be hearing to speakers here itself. Instead of AR Rahman, it could be Hans Zimmer, it could be Coldplay. So the interesting part is this same space has been used by Hans Zimmer, AR Rahman, Coldplay, Beyonce, and so many others. You can name it. So I'll get on to that much later. So this is where the engineer's desk is. Okay, when I'm saying a desk, it is not a piece of carpentry. All this is a number of equipments coming together. It is the interface which they use to convert all this data into creative content. Yeah. And I'll just, so you will see this is a technical diagram. This is a much more with the finishes and everything in place. This is something that I'm showing you with respect to direct sound and reflected sound. These are the order of reflections happening within the space. I'll be able to show it to you in terms of an animation later. This is the number of sources within the space. Sources means the number of speakers within the space. So in a Dolby Atmos setup, LCR, left, center, right, side surround, left center, right, left surround, right surround, rear left surround, rear right surround, and then in the ceiling there is right top front, left top front, left top rear, right top rear. So you are immersed in audio all across. So you will see the number of speakers. So each speaker you will, speed of sound differs from, you keep changing your location, the delivery from this speaker, everything changes. So this is how it has been calibrated within the space. There is digital calibration that happens, but first of all you need to get the room right. You need to have the volume correct, and you place all these things. Then there are digital calibrations that happen so that all this is time aligned. Okay, time aligned, so that everything reaches you at the same time and you have the best immersive experience. So when you're sitting here at one, you will not be able to point out LCR or anything like that. You are just immersed in a sphere of audio. Yeah, that's so. Even if you're listening to content on your headphones or earphones when you're traveling, maybe any OTT series, that you might feel that, oh my god, I can actually feel the audio coming from front or back or all those things. So Dolby Atmos has been standardized for, if even though it is done in a studio like this with so many speakers, but in your ears you have only left and right. It's a binaural setup. It has been calibrated for all formats. So when somebody doesn't do that, like for example, if you watch some Bollywood content from 2010 maybe, and you try to put it into a very good home theater system, you will be able to make out all the flaws because it has not been worked out for that format. Okay, that is why you might hear a lot of movies re-releasing with something called remastered in Dolby Atmos content. So that is what Sholay and all those things have been remastered now. A lot of movies are being remastered in this latest immersive formats. Yeah. So this is the rear wall. I'm just showing you the speakers, that how it has been aligned and kept into place. Then there are rack units. So much data, so many wires. I mean, it is not wireless. Okay, none of this happens on wireless technology as of now because there is a there is a distortion or a loss that happens. So that is the audio there. The thing is, sorry, I just lost it. Sorry. Yeah. So far everybody is able to follow me, or am I going too fast, or can you give me some response so that I can adjust the way I'm speaking? Everything is fine.
Yes, yes, Rollins. I think it's good.
Okay, okay.
I also feel that there are a lot of technical terminologies that you're using, which may be
Yeah, okay,
difficult to
okay.
fathom. So if you just want to,
Simplify it furthermore.
simplify it, yes, and not go into
Yeah, yeah.
utna depth.
Depth of things.
Yeah.
Okay, got it, got it, got it.
But if
So
I'm the
I
only
should,
one who feels like
yeah.
that and others
Hmm?
feel otherwise, then maybe you could stop me also. But that's
Okay, okay, fine. I'll just flip through content, okay, and then we'll get into information as and when you have questions. Yeah. So this is the technical slide that you're seeing of that same studio, and this is with all the finishes and everything. So this is what I was saying. The desk, of course, it is a desk, but it is with a lot of gadgetry happening over there. And you will see the heights at which is placed. There is an angle to it. All of these things are done for a certain reason. And then, of course, when you're doing all this, you don't want air conditioning noise gushing in. You don't want the noise of air hitting you. So even the air conditioning is designed in a certain manner. This is the main scoring space. So in the ideation slides that you might have seen, this is the window for external. It's the external viewing deck where the public can actually see how this is done, and that is another production space. There is another other production space above. There's a dub room over there. So you'll see all spaces can interact with each other. Everybody can see each other, but whatever content they are generating in those specific rooms, they will not hear each other. Okay, that is through a headphone or something like that, so that they can focus on the content they are generating. So live, everybody can be recorded live, like the orchestra can record here. There is a main vocalist over here, or there is a dialogue happening. Everything can be recorded, and the person over here in the control room can mix it all together. This is the storeroom, all these chairs, all these platforms, everything can move in, go out. All that happens over here. All the instruments are kept here. This is the viewing window where the people can see what is happening. This is all the gadgetry on the top for light, sound, the reflector panels. This is again a section plane that I'm showing you of how, though they are all adjacent to each other, none of the noise or the structure borne vibrations do not transfer through and through. Yeah, and that is where our detailing comes into picture. So this is a section of that main spaces. Other spaces I have not put in because it's very normal. So you will hear that, you will see that, these speakers are all floated in air because it's isolated from the mainframe. There are details over there involved over there. Just showing you few glimpses of the space. This is like showing some renders before we actually build. This is, you will see a timeline over here. So this is the whole building coming up, being built in space. Also, you'll see that we have used a lot of dry construction methods so that things can move faster. Also, there was a uh, sustainability report that we had to create saying that, okay, we are creating this building only for the next 10 years. After that, we might open it up and make it bigger, or depending on how things move, we never know because technology is changing every 6 months. So you can't just be stuck in one space. So we have built it in such a manner that all this can be opened up, disassembled. Very less wet materials have been used in this space. Also, it is all completely friendly for all kinds of users to access the space. We have ramps. We also have speakers outside, and people, while they're moving along this ramp, also they can hear what is being generated there. So it's a complete experience that we are trying to create. So even people there that are moving around this place, even children, they might accidentally come and sit here, and then they will get inquisitive about, oh, what is this kind of music playing? Where is it playing? They'll start moving around. At the same time, it should be safe enough to move around. All those things have been taken into picture, and when they come on this part, they will be able to see what is happening inside. So this is the entire space that has been done. Why this photograph is important is because you're seeing a RAF fighter jet passing by. It's creating 107 decibels over there, but none of that content enters into this space where the studio is. This is the kind of vestibule to enter into the main space. This is the main reception space. All the Grammys, Oscars, everything kept there. The originals have been kept there. And so we have very less space to accommodate all these extras. But still, we have to have it, otherwise it becomes too technical. This is how a dub room looks like. So somebody will have the content generating on the screen while you speak through the mic, and then here you have your controls. So this is how you communicate with the engineer sitting in the other room. And then there's somebody who kind of manages the videos and everything. So whenever content is being recorded, you don't have a video camera guy going there and shooting them and things like that. There are cameras placed inside itself, so nobody is distracted by a human moving around. Other spaces, dressing rooms. This is the main scoring hall. You will see that is a control room. That is a main window for the public. This is where the orchestra sits through. Some finer details. The same space in cinema mode, you will see how these reflector panels have opened up. The movable seating comes into picture, just showing you how it's being used. And when it is used for something else, now I'll just play this. You'll see with the press of a button, it'll just open up within like few seconds. So it's reflective now. When it opens up and it exposes the absorptive side to the room. The same space, uh, this whole thing can be height adjusted as well. So you can bring the reflectors closer to you or away from you. All those things can be tried out. This is a full house where you're having all the orchestral musicians, some choruses. There are drum or percussion instruments inside those dub rooms. Other versions of that same space. This is what I was talking about the control room. You'll see so many gadgets and so many meters and graphs. So they have multiple references to check and monitor the data so that things are being aligned well. There are more than a lakh cables running below. We made it into a footrest so that we don't want people to, just get distracted with so many cables. At the same time, it has to be maintenance friendly, where people can remove something, change something. So everything here is flexible. It can be changed as the technology changes. These are huge subwoofers. So low frequency content comes through this. Mid frequency content, mainly 32 hertz to around 8000 hertz, can be managed through this. This will have a crossover at approximately one. Anything below 100 or 120 hertz can come through the subwoofers. These are wider stereo reference. So in a studio, you'll find at least three or four different speakers, so that when you average out the content coming through various sources, you have everything. You have a fair idea of how it will sound in the outside world. Okay, there are speakers hidden within the ceiling and many other areas. So we had the privilege of working along closely with one of Frank Zappa, Michael Jackson's sound engineers, some other interesting people. So who were all involved in making this a grand success. So you'll see when people coming outside on the viewing platform, that's them looking down, and this is the view that you get. Yeah. And yeah, we got the best studio award for that year for this space, though we were competing against Warner Brothers and many other big names. And I was quite surprised, for a smaller space they could actually appreciate the functionality and the transitions that were involved. And definitely we all put in together a certain level of effort to make this happen. So that was one project. Now, similarly, something like this we have done in Africa as well, which is Government of India's first ever project outside India, where it is called the Mahatma Gandhi International Conference Center, and which is laid out over 1,75,000 square feet in a country called Niger. This is the presidential hall. That's an plenary hall which can seat 2,100 people. That's a banquet hall. So this was done along with Stoop consultants then. Now they're called as Systems 2. So this is in Jan 2019. This is in 2000, December 2019. Within a year's, this is what was achieved. Again, here there are so many challenges involved, and because everything is being done in a land which is locked by deserts all around, there are no ports nearby. It takes 2 months for any material to reach here. So we had to be very sure what is that we're going to do here, and it all has to be in such a manner that it can be assembled at site. So there was a contract where more than 70% of the material has to come from India. Okay, so all these seats you'll see is from India. All this ceiling elements are from Ahmedabad. Flooring, carpets are from Rajasthan. Something is from somewhere else. So everything has been assembled together at site after it has traveled and there's a timeline to follow. So we worked out the acoustics in such a manner that the interiors, acoustics, lighting, audio, firefighting, all these elements have been worked together simultaneously and can be assembled at site. So when this is being put together, something else can be worked above it. So that's how we planned this. This is the presidential hall, banquet halls. Similarly, in Music Academy, Chennai, the space is more than 80 years old. It was very absorptive in nature because when it was done so many years ago, it was not giving the right output for Carnatic music that happens during the Margari Masam and many other aspects for these stringed instruments, wind instruments, and percussion instruments. They have to sound in a certain manner. So you need to make the space more natural sounding. So you'll see there are certain things done in that space. Similarly, for breweries and entertainment spaces, a lot of, though it looks like this, it is a mixture of aesthetic technicality and functional material that has been put together to make things happen. Just flipping through some images, even homes have been done in a certain manner. So aesthetics follows the functionality of the space. This is another interesting space, which is a sports institution on the seventh floor of a building. This is Father Agnel on the top floor. This is in Vashi itself, which was designed for badminton. We have four courts over there on the seventh floor. Right below is SIBA, which is an incubator, and we didn't want it to disturb them with the impact of footfalls on this floor. So there is a certain isolation layer done. Even before doing that, we first check what is the kind of lighting that, what is the lux level that should fall on the floor for the perfect lighting of a badminton game. All that has been planned out. This is the final outcome of that space. So this is how we simulate a lot of contents. Though we were called in for acoustics, we ended up doing the entire space for lighting and many other things. Now the space is also being used for uh, Hindustani classical music and light music, teachers, seminars, where here you can see around 800 teachers are together. However, before it was more than 10.7 seconds reverberation time in this space. So you can imagine in 250 hertz, which is very much in the human voice range. So on an average, this was all beyond 6 seconds of reverberation time, and we had to bring it down so that it all is audible or the speech is intelligible. Okay, so we worked it out that manner. These are other few studios. Again, we like to design studios with a lot of sunlight coming in. People are able to interact with the outside world so that it's not disorienting when they're there inside for so many hours generating content. Again, this is a Dolby Atmos studio with all these sources all around you. Yeah, though you can see the outside, you don't hear the outside world. This is again another space. Office spaces as well. So like when you're looking at the space, we have to zone things out much earlier during the master planning stage so that we don't have to there is no afterthought later. That afterthought will cost you heavily for correcting. Yeah, so we plan out everything much in advance. Here you will see so many cabins and many multiple spaces. There are people inside each of these functions happening simultaneously, but no noise will enter into each other's space. There is no noise bleed, you call it. Okay, no noise transmission. At the same time, we worked on materials over here where, it will keep the place cooler by a little bit more than, normal spaces. So we have used micro cementing here. Here you'll see, unlike most boardrooms, where it might be confined or a lot of absorptive surfaces, you will see a 6 meter long glass over here, and it's almost parallel to this wall. However, even when it is open, there is no, the reverberation is less than zero point 0.8 seconds. Ideally, for conference room, etc., it should be 0.8 to 1 second, and we are very much within 0.6 to 65 STI. So yeah, we have crossed 570 plus projects. Most of them might have ended up being case studies, or it was not built due to many reasons. But we have learned with each project, and we have been trying to push our capacities to make things work, make acoustic detailing come to the common homes. People make people experience what they're missing out on, in the general realm of life, so all these things we have been putting together, and we enjoy doing what we are doing over here. And I would leave it open for you people to ask me questions, how much ever I can, to my best of the knowledge. I will definitely answer it. I have so many pictures and examples to show you. I am not sure where I can stop, because I can just keep going on. So these are standards, before even we design anything, we first set the acoustic design criteria to the spaces. Like apartment houses, the recommended NC means noise criteria, uh, curve, or the equivalent sound levels. So when we say decibel, A means A weighted. A weighted means for the human hearing scale. Yeah, so it should be within this space. So if it is not within that space, that's where you start having sleepless nights due to noises here. Everybody has a different trigger, it can't be standardized all across. So that is why it is always a range, 35 to 45 decibels, because somebody might want that noise, because if you're staying somewhere in the heart of Mumbai, you are used to the traffic noise, you're used to everything. You might not get sleep if you are not keeping the fan on. And there are so many I mean, psychological aspects to acoustics as well, so to experience of things. So that is why, people in the city would like to go out in the weekends to a much what do you say, less noisier space, to enjoy that aspect. But at the same time, they can't spend their time too much over there. They would like to have the noise back again. There are uh, so many combinations, so we can't generalize all these aspects. Something which is noise for someone might be music for somebody else. Yeah. So again, reverberation time, what is the ideal reverberation time for certain spaces, all those things, there are standards for it, as per British standards or Australian standards, Acoustical Society of America standards. It's always best that we set these standards first. And there are so many standards in place. We refer to all these references, and then we move forward. We work out what is the best ideal room ratios, dimensions, and then we get into detailing with combination of ceiling materials, flooring, walls, and then we get into simulations, and then this is the final outcome. So something that looks as reflective like this could be as wonderful to be at, or to speak. Sometimes you enter some hotel lobbies or certain institutional lobbies, you will feel that, okay, if two people start speaking, it is reverberating within the space a lot. So like now for this space, this is the World Bank kind of cafeteria in Sri Lanka, I'm guessing. Yeah. So you'll see all this glass around, but people can still be around, talk, chat, have a town hall session. So here we do a lot of value engineering, multiple partition walls I've shown here, and how each of these walls perform. We have to check the frequency specific data and so many other things. These are some finer details of construction methods. Everything, of course, we sketch out, we scale things out. There is a lot of space micromanagement done so that there is no space micromanagement, not human micromanagement. So all these things happen this way. That is a Dolby Atmos setup. This is the first, India's first all Dolby Atmos setup. This is on the ninth floor of a building in Andheri. Yeah. So yes, I think I have kind of crossed 45 minutes, so I should keep it open for the audience to raise questions.
Yes, so many things to share in such little time, no, Rollins?
Hmm.
Your work truly, exemplifies like a perfect amalgamation of science, sound, acoustics, art, technology. So, on behalf of everyone present, I'd really like to extend a heartfelt gratitude for your insightful and engaging session on acoustic design. Your expertise and the passion for the field, they were both inspiring and eye-opening. And like Seema pointed out, the next time any of us enters a concert hall or an auditorium, we'll be more appreciative of the minute details that an acoustic engineer like you or a designer like you has put into place. So it kind of leaves us with a profound appreciation for the art and science behind creating such exceptional acoustic spaces. Before the program began, Lalita also mentioned a fascinating concept of whispering galleries from ancient times, where sound could travel remarkable distances through clever space designs. And today, in your presentation, you could actually see them through the simulations that you brought to life and animated, and it was a delight to witness them as well. I think the way you broke down the intricate design process from isolation techniques to tailoring solutions for user needs, it was really thought provoking. And of course, some very famous examples like the Netflix studio, the Dubai Orchestra project, Virdos studio, and the Gandhi Center in Niger. I think they provided a very captivating glimpse into the complexities and creativity involved in the designing of such unique spaces. So hearing about your meticulous design process, I think I was just my curiosity was sparked that acoustic design is a very niche field, and we don't have many specialists like you. So, what inspired you to specialize in this field? Did you have any mentors, or did you kind of took all of it, learned all of it on your own? What has been your journey?
Okay, so I have to be very honest. Here, uh, while I was doing architecture, I was also doing music a lot. And one of your members, I'm guessing Pooja Ugrani, I was very closely, like she was also my batchmate, and
The
we
moment
started
you said
something.
out her name, I think she's left the meeting.
She's left.
Gaya.
Uh,
Yeah. Okay.
exit strategy. Yeah. So the thing is, we started something called the Music Liberation Union, and I realized I would like to pursue a career in music, but coming from a typically South Indian background, I had to do engineering or something closer to engineering, and that's how I ended up doing architecture, though it was against the will of my very critical parents. And then I realized I was doing music for a few bands then, and I was intrigued that people have so much talent, content, but the spaces that they're generating all this content is not up to the mark. So that's where I really felt maybe I should focus in an area where I can gauge music and spaces and build with these two aspects. And there is nothing over here to actually train you in this line of work. So after practicing a few years in the architectural field itself, then I took up like a specialization in acoustic engineering, where I spent some time in London Festival Hall, a lot of other spaces around UK, and trained under some really seasoned acoustic consultants. And I realized none of this sensibility is there back where we are, where we come from. That's where I made a decision to come back. And back in 2010, 11, 12, 13, there was no, I mean, people used to think this is too much jargon that you're throwing around the place. And slowly and patiently, I waited through trying to educate the people around. Maybe, if you use a certain combination, let's bring it to the masses and make it more otherwise architecture, you are like, okay, auditoriums and maybe studios. No, it is also in your workspaces, it is also in your classrooms, where teachers are really blaring on top of their voice. They are going to have heart issues over time, and then there are so many things. I mean, I am not getting into the details of things. So when we actually learn acoustic engineering, we first learn about the ear, okay, and how much it impacts you, though you can't see sound hitting you, or you can see light, you can see everything else. So it was so intriguing, and that's where I got into it. And I have been learning from a lot of mentors from abroad, and everywhere I keep going into forums, learning, though I've taken a long time. But finally we have reached a stage where we were given the highly commendable innovation award in acoustics. Probably we are the only ones from India for that right now, from the Institute of Acoustics UK. We just got it just in December first week, and that was for 2 3 projects that I showcased over here. And that's where I felt, okay, now we can uh, we can speak about acoustics to the world, rather than waiting for Europeans to teach us or everything. So it
Nice.
has happened through a long process and with a lot of failure in that process, and I've learned through those failures, because it was a self-learning process.
Hmm.
Thanks.
Thanks, Rollins. We have a lot of questions coming in from Lalita ma'am and Sureka ma'am as well. So, ma'am, would you like to unmute yourself?
Yeah,
Mm.
yes, Rolins, this is Lalita Dhareshwar here.
Yes,
Uh,
ma'am.
yeah, uh, I just wanted to ask you one or two things. That is, as I see, it is a very fantastic, presentation, and something which I never knew much before. Though I'm a
Mhm.
physicist by my this thing,
Okay.
profession.
Okay.
And first thing I want to ask you is it that necessary that all these workspaces or these theaters or whatever, these have to be in curved surfaces, have to be there? Is it for the focusing effect of the sound or something like that?
Mhm.
Because I didn't
Yes,
see
ma'am.
any straight kind of walls or anything.
Yes, 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 yes. So you might have seen in the conference room, I've used straight, there is no curves. Okay.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when I showed you the Music Academy Chennai,
Yes.
you saw those curved surfaces.
Yes.
So I'll be very honest with you. I could have done it with straight surfaces also. Okay.
Okay.
But I wanted to bring around some level of aesthetics or dynamics into the space where people don't feel cluttered within sharp corners and things like that,
Hmm.
because you are listening to music. And so
Hmm.
it is always the architect in me always hammers me and says, okay, you need to make it more inspiring. It's getting too technical. So after aligning the technical aspects like diffusion,
Hmm.
reflection, absorption, I see to it what is the percentage of diffusion we need. Like for when you're playing the mridangam in space, you need to be
Hmm.
able to hear the entire talam from the way it has bended, even the tabla. There are so many,
Hmm.
the frequency range is immense. Like, so how will we hear it? We have to hear it only when the space is natural sounding enough. If you absorb all the energies, you will not hear it. Okay. So it will sound like a muted tabla. When you tighten the tabla, it will sound muted. Okay. So we can't tighten the space so much. So we have to let the energies be within the space, but at the same time it should not focus so much that it disturbs you. Okay. So these concave spaces, when we so if you remember the slide in that I had shown, the different shapes have a certain
Yes.
frequency pattern. When
Yes.
sound hits it, it scatters in a certain manner. So we have a scattering coefficient in place, and then we see the directivity pattern of how it scatters. So it is a very meticulous process, but it I had to work faster so that they don't lose interest in this.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
and generate the content so that, okay, they are convinced. And then
So
it
this,
was quite a,
yeah,
yeah,
this reverberation, this thing what you are saying, na, which is,
yeah,
so
yeah.
this is the reverberation is actually the time that the sound takes, the time it takes to come back to the source or something like that. That is the reverberation you mean to say?
Reverberation is actually, ma'am, imagine you are in a space
Mm.
and I start the source. Now I clap. Okay.
Mm.
It takes a certain time for it to die down. So how much time did it take for a 60 dB sound to die down? Okay. That is the
Yeah.
reverberation. So it was called RT60. Okay. Same thing,
Oh.
RT30 is there, RT20 is there.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is the tail of that is left after you generate the
Yeah.
sound or the noise. Okay, so that is reverberation. There is something called early decay time also. Okay,
Uh,
even before you generate that, what happens in the first maybe the 1/10 of that entire time. So you look into those aspects. This is very important now because we are dependent on so many systems, speakers within the space. So if anything goes
yes.
wrong, the time alignment would go wrong. And if you want the bullet
Yeah.
sound to come from left to right, you might actually hear it, shooting you yourself. So
Oh.
there are so many things.
Really, that's wonderful, and it's really, I
It's
mean, very complex,
very interesting.
very
Very
complex. Yeah.
complex. Yeah, very complex. The explorations are still on. The
Okay.
immersive area, it is beyond 7.1.4. I have something interesting to talk
Uh,
about or show you if time permits. So we have designed one research facility. So Mahindra is coming up with all their new EV vehicles. Okay, I can't
oh.
show it over here.
Mm.
So we have built the facility in Chennai where all the new EV vehicles of Mahindra are going to have immersive audio in it because Indians are spending maximum time on the road now. Okay.
Yeah.
So for the urban Indian, they've created an immersive experience so that you don't get hassled by the traffic outside.
That,
So you won't believe it, the level of detail that's gone into it.
yeah.
And Harman, there are only 5 such spaces in the world, out of which one is in Pune, which we have designed, where
Mm.
all this research is happening. America and Germany are directly working on that space in Pune. And all the vehicles, even outside India, are being researched in that location. So
Oh,
it is one of the finest spaces for all this. If time permits, if there are permissions, it would be great if we few people go and experience it firsthand.
Oh,
yes.
nice. Mm.
Yeah, Pune being very close to us, maybe sometimes we'll visit and see.
Hi.
That's really wonderful.
Yes, 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 ma'am.
Yeah. So maybe I'll ask the questions now, if permitted. Sonam,
Yes, ma'am.
is that
Yes, yes,
okay?
yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Screen is yours.
So Mr. Rollins, it was very nice to hear all those things. And I mean, for me, it's like starting from zero and listening to all the highest of sound engineering that you brought to our attention. So some of my questions probably will be very novice. For I want to know in an auditorium or a hall, which is having mainly musical, events. Are these quite distinct from those which would have like dramas and plays? What I mean to
Yes,
say is that is the placement of the instruments fixed in those halls? Like, would they have to place the guitar in one place or the piano in one place, or if it's an Indian classical, the different instruments, the harmonium, do they have to be set in some specific places? And you need to know all this before you put in the audio systems.
yes. So that is a very good question, ma'am. I'm glad you asked this because now I'll bring you to a very, what do you say, regional example, the NCPA, National Center for Performing Arts.
Yeah.
You have the JBT Hall, which is for orchestral music or for
Yeah.
musicals. Okay. And you have that space is for natural sound. You are actually sitting 30 meters away from the main stage, but you are still able to hear audio. It is not mainly for visual. The JBT, the Jamshed Baba Theatre. That is because orchestral music is much appreciated in a reverberant space. So you don't play anything through speakers much over there because it will not sound good. At the same time, you go to Tata Theatre, which is the fan-shaped auditorium. Okay, there also it is more what do you say, diffused environment. Okay, less absorptive. But at the same time, you go to the Little Theatre. it is an absorptive environment, because you are playing documentaries, movie screenings, and everything is coming through speaker systems, which is reproduced sound done in some studio. You want to hear it exactly the way it was mixed and mastered in the studio. So each of these spaces have its own time signatures that have to be aligned. Okay. And now coming to your question, coming to more detailed elements like, okay, when the tabla is to be placed, where the guitar is to be placed, the drums, if it is placed, we'll need to have a shield around it so that it does not throw out a sound too much into the microphones nearby. So definitely all this has to be planned. No concert happens without this planning in place. And even before the concert happens, there is at least 2 3 days that goes into with the sound team understanding these elements. Otherwise, it'll sound really wrong. I mean, even if the main vocalist does not know how to sing, but he is known to be a big singer into the outside world, there is a lot of other digital enhancements that are done. There is the whole technology, unlike the 90s or 80s. It's right now, people will ask, if I'm paying 10,000 rupees for a concert, what is that I'm getting? Okay, so
Yeah.
that is the level of content that goes into preparation of any concert right now. So I'm talking about
Okay.
live audio. Yeah.
Yeah.
At the
So
same
just
time, yeah. Sorry.
to
Tell
move
me.
on to another question, you have so many panels. Now, are these panels, acoustic panels, also instrument related or voice related, or they are common, or should we say that should one pay a lot of attention to, um, getting which one is better for which?
So it depends on the frequency spectrum that you want to address. Speak frequency, like your voice range would be within 250 hertz to 4000 hertz. So we make a panel that addresses that frequency spectrum. And if you have a Doberman in the house, which creates a frequency spectrum of maybe 120 hertz to 400 hertz, so you create absorptive panels which will absorb that level of energy. So everybody has their own. It's like the fingerprint, which is unique to each person. So depending on each instrument or a human being or an animal, we can design panels and the room accordingly. But usually makeshift panels don't help much. Volume which is specifically designed for speech, for certain isolations are done. Isolations, like for example, I'm sitting right next to a construction site, so there is heavy low frequency content. So I need to have glazing which is double laminated, or with a certain membrane in between, so that it can, the content, when it transmits to the first layer of glass, then it enters into the membrane, it kind of diminishes, and by the time the energy enters into this room, it has almost like less than the ambient noise in my room, you know then it'll make a lot of sense.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll call it my last questions. Do you have
Okay.
algorithms which help you to integrate all the elements of your hall or auditorium with respect
Yes.
to sound systems, the panels, and probably even the
Yes.
furnishings, and
Yes.
where they have to be placed together, so that even before you actually place them, that gives you a chance to judge, are we moving in the right direction?
Yes, absolutely, ma'am. Amazing question again. So over the years, I realized I'm spending so much time on calculating certain things, coming at results, and sometimes I spend a week and then I come to really weird results which are not actually realistic. And I started exploring these algorithms. And of course, I'm not a scientist, so I have to depend on scientists who work on these algorithms. And I connected with a lot of people around the world who have worked on certain specific elements. And that's how, when I work out results within hours now, or maybe lesser time, 1/10 of the time that I used to use 5 years ago, 6 years ago. So there are a lot of licenses that I'm using right now, which are quite expensive also. So like, for example, wall thicknesses, if it is a residential area near airports, so what is the wall thicknesses, what is the glazing that I should use, what is the kind of uh, envelope that I need to make for a auditorium, so that you don't end up having noise entering into the space. So a lot of technical reports are generated before we do something like this. And this is generated through algorithms. There are software licenses that do this right now, so you don't have to sit and calculate it through an Excel sheet. So Sabine's formula is long gone, what to
Yeah.
calculate reverberation time for a space, where you go calculate each material and with just one frequency. Now it is waveguide theory that is being used, and geometric ray tracing simulation softwares, which will take a few hours to generate the result, and you are able to create multiple options and choose which direction to go, so that you don't end up in the failing in that specific subject. So yes, we are using 7 to 8 different algorithms to arrive at a holistic solution for any
Mhm.
space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'll come back if there's time for more questions after others.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks, Sureka ma'am. We have a question by Dr. Seema Das. She is curious about how open spaces like DY Patil Stadium
Hmm.
gets, converted into a concert arena for the ones like Coldplay and others. And it's also
Hmm.
seconded by Rita ma'am. She has the same question.
Hmm. Okay. So first of all, when we are talking about an open space, it is a free field. Okay. So what is a free field? You don't have any surfaces or planes which are enclosing the energy, and it is going all over. So a free field is very similar to an anechoic chamber. Okay. An anechoic chamber, you can just check out. I'm sure you might have seen those videos where, okay, world's most silent space and Microsoft has it over. So these are called anechoic chambers where everything is tested. A lot of things are tested in that space.
Mm.
External, yeah, external, what do you say? Just a, just a
Rollins, I think your frames froze. Can you hear us?
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Hello?
yes, can hear you.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So yes, what I was saying is there are a lot of such. Where are we? Can you just
Anechoic.
yeah, so
Anechoic.
free field, yeah, anechoic chamber, yeah. So the anechoic chamber is something where there is no external influence coming to the space. All the sound that is generated is from the source, speaker source or anything. Okay.
Mm,
So in a free field, you are not kind of disturbed by any of these external sources apart from traffic noise or whatever.
mm,
So you create an entire virtual space with multiple speakers. You saw the studio with multiple speakers all around, an immersive environment. Okay, so where are the speakers? It might be all around the perimeter of that stadium, and each speaker is time aligned. Okay, so somebody who's closer to the stage will feel they are closer to the artist. Somebody who's far away from the artist will also feel much closer than they are actually from the
mm,
artist. Okay. And it so even when you're designing for churches and things like that, there is something called voice of God. So when we do things for temples, churches and things like that, we create it in such a manner that even if I'm sitting facing the main worship area, the sound should not come from the side. It should be coming from the front, as
mm,
if God is speaking to you. So there are multiple such presets that are done, and sound engineers, I'm not from that line of work, but sound engineers design it over time. They take few hours. So if the concert is in the evening, for 2 days the testing is already happening. So maybe Coldplay is happening tomorrow. uh,
mm.
they are there already, checking out all this, because if anything goes wrong, then legal suits are out there, and then it is a different dirty journey altogether. Yeah.
So
Did I
we
answer
also,
the question?
yes, yes. We also have a question on, why is it difficult to hear clearly inside rooms within the Mumbai flats? Is it because of the dynamics of the airflow or the thickness of walls, or what could be one of the reasons that it's
Uh, it's very generic. I'm not able to. like Mumbai rooms means, is it the bedroom or is it the living rooms? I'm not able to understand that, but still let me answer this. Okay, in Mumbai, you will see the floor to ceiling ratio is much lesser to when it comes to Pune or Hyderabad or somewhere else. Okay, because of the square feet area and it's so expensive. Real estate is so expensive. So, but furniture, it changes. Okay, when you space, when you're renting out a space and you suddenly enter, when you speak, it's like there is a lot of reverb there, and suddenly you start adding in furniture, curtains, furnishing, it starts changing. At the same time, uh, you put in air conditioning. If your air conditioning is noisier, it will add into the ambient noise. So when you are having a video call like this, your air conditioning will be heard and it will be disturbing you. The windows, definitely, if it is not closing in, if they